we need to talk about how these special needs parents, they have to have tough skin. When you become a parent to a child that is considered disabled, okay, let's talk about verbiage in the field, okay, and like all this back and forth. Like, if your child is considered disabled or they're delayed, the first thing is going to be delayed. Delayed leads to a disability, okay? It's either, okay, your child is delayed, like my daughter is delayed with her speech right now. But it's like, okay, it's too soon to determine if it's actually a disability. Disability, okay? So we're already conditioned to think this is a disablement to her because of her not being to the typical, and if you have any kind of diagnosis, disabled, they're not able to do what everyone around them is doing, essentially, right? That's what handicap means. Well, that's how we've been conditioned for it to be meant because of the words that they use and the support and then this and versus that. Like, a mother just posted this video that I have retweeted last night where she actually went to the school and observed her child. And she said, if you're a parent with special needs, you better go see what's going on in that school. You sure do. You should, honestly, you should go see what goes on in a typical school day, because when's the last time you got to be experienced and exposed to what school feels like and to know what 6.5 hours of your child day look like, and the direction and the environment that they're in and the attitudes of the teachers or the students and what's being heard and the behaviors that are going on in the classroom. I guarantee you're going to want to pull your kid out. You're going to come out of there with a whole different perspective, like that mother did. The fact that she had to go on social media and make you aware of it. And it's true. And to add on to that too, it's like, there's so much wasted time. There's so much wasted time. Parents want the kids, parents, but also like the community, inclusion. No, absolutely. I 100% believe in inclusion, but I also believe it's not for everybody. Like, they would benefit more in a secluded room. And they use these words secluded, like as in like separated, like in the own little jail cell. And it's like, absolutely not. It should not. They should switch that term from inclusion, which is being in the typical classroom, or a secluded room. And let me tell you the difference between the classrooms, okay? Seclusion, if they're into a room for special needs, they're going to have the one-to-one support. They're going to have more attention, okay? I'm going to tell you this right now. If your child does not have an IEP, a one-to-one, and their reading level is in the third grade, kindergarten level, but they're in third grade, you're going to want to listen up, because your child has a lot of wasted time in there. I promise you. I was a one-to-one for a very long time in the school setting, and I know what it's like for those kids that don't have a one-to-one. And I could only imagine how my student would have thrived if she didn't have a one-to-one because of all the wasted time. I knew when to pull her when it wasn't going to be beneficial for her. I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're reading at a kindergarten level, and right now it's reading, and they're reading Charlotte's Web, and they're making predictions, and they want you to sit there for 20 minutes because the whole class is reading this chapter book when she's still reading CVC words. So you really think it's appropriate for a student that has an IEP to be sitting in the classroom for 20 minutes during a reading time? Why do you think there's behaviors going on? Because they don't know how to entertain themselves. They're expected to sit there because the teacher can't. Picture this. Let's talk about IEP goals too in the school. How, if your child has IEP, they're not really expected to pass the class with having to get 100s on all the tests. No. Their thing is modified. They have goals to accomplish throughout the year, not just like that first quarter. I mean, depending on the goal is written, it could be, but my whole point is that they're not graded like the typical class, but they're still inside that typical class, which means that teacher is teaching the typical class work to the typical classroom, which means your child that is not getting the typical educational access that's required on his IEP, yeah, he needs to be exposed to it, but it's going way over their head. So your child has to actually, there's so much wasted time when she's teaching the full class, because she's got to teach the whole class the actual level work. The whole class can't be arranged and the topics be taught on their level, because they already passed that level two years ago, because they're in third grade and she's still in kindergarten level. You see what I mean? So it's like, how do you expect these teachers to run the classroom when they got 26 kids, four have IEPs, 2 probably got BIPs, and you expect them to teach a 20-minute lesson to all of them when they're all on different levels? Of course there's going to be behaviors. Of course. Like, hello? Like, to have the whole class take turns reading one chapter, all they got to get through is one chapter. That's 20 minutes right there. And it's like, I don't think it's for everybody. But my whole thing is I want to spread awareness for parents. Like, parents, you can bring anyone you want to IEP. You could bring your whole family if you wanted to. You could bring your BCBA. You could bring all the service providers. If you're receiving services before the kid is in school or even during the kid is in school, honestly, if you're getting speech services out from an outside source, ask your speech services, like, hey, would you mind coming to my daughter's IEP so you could hear, because the speech knows them outside in the home setting, so the speech could share what she's working on with the school setting so that they could correlate what level and prompting, and actually she might be further along than the speech teacher at school thinks she is, because she's not aware of the other speech that she's getting. Or maybe that speech that's at home has a better approach and gets so much more work done. And she has like a toolkit on how to master this child. And when I say master, means like how to make the environment enriching for her where she's going to be happy, she's going to be successful, we're going to have a good session, she's going to be motivated. I'm sharing my tool set to make sure that my learner is successful with you too. That's how multidisciplinary teams should work, but they don't work like that. So in order for them to work like that, we need to bring awareness that that's possible. And how is that possible? Well, you need to communicate like, hey, parents, nobody teaches the parents about an IEP. Nobody. And they don't tell them about the 504. And they don't tell them like, hey, if you just ask for this, you're entitled to a free education, and your child is entitled to get the services that they require to be thriving in the school setting. So yeah, you can get speech, you can get OT, you can get PT. I understand both sides because I was with a family that was suing both districts. And I know how nasty the school districts get with families. And I know how much pressure and hard work and dedication and money and all that stuff that goes investing to sue the school district. I understand the strain that it puts in on a family, and I also understand how overworked the teachers are in the school, but also how eventually it comes down to money. Okay, I'm dead. I'll be the person that addresses the elephant in the room. It's all about money. The whole world is all about money. And it's sad, but like, if you know how to advocate, you can get the sources that you're entitled to. And then on the back end, the districts know it's expensive having a child on an IEP because they come with service providers that the school has to pay for. Oh, they need an AAC device. Yeah, the school covers that. If your child is nonverbal, best believe the school system will happily pay for an AAC device. So, and then you're entitled to bring it home because that is your child's voice. And they cannot just have a voice in school. They need to have a voice at home, especially if they're going to be implementing it at school and teaching them how to communicate throughout his 6.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. You see what I mean? Yes, you better generalize that in the home. You better send that iPad to the home. You better tell me, what problems are you dealing with at home? Oh, toothbrushing. Okay, let's practice toothbrushing at school. Let's do the TA. Oh, look, he's almost mastered it. Like, you could probably start introducing it back at home and see how he does. See what I mean? Communication. Are you guys with me? Like, reinforce this. I need to have likes and saves on this one because parents need to know. And the more people understand, that's why I made my IEP goals. I can advocate on behalf of my students. And my students, all of my students in the school setting, struggle with those 7 specific dimensions that I've made goals for. Okay? So it's like, you are not going to get any academics done. Remember? Because I told you last time, BCBs are called in when there's no work getting done. There's no compliance. They're destroying the room. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. If they were destroying the room, not getting anything done before we got there, best believe they're not going to get anything done as soon as we get there because we got to shape it up. So it's like, yeah, we have to handle these behaviors first. And how do you handle behaviors? You got to emotionally regulate. How do you handle your emotions? You need to understand coping mechanisms. How do you do that? Well, you have to be taught them. See what I mean? It's all a shaping process. There's prerequisites to every skill before that terminal behavior. And that terminal behavior is being able to tolerate the school. So yes, it takes time. It's not overnight. And consistency is key. And that's why being a part of a multidisciplinary team, your BCBA should be reaching out to everybody that's inside that learner's 24 hours a day so that we're all on the same page and we know where he is, where he just left me onto you. So it's like, let's not bring him back. Let's only keep him going forward. He's thriving. Let's keep growing and mastering these prerequisite skills that he needs to practice on when he reaches those contingencies. That's why naturalistic is so important. You're teaching in the moment all the time. I used to tell my therapist all the time, listen, just because it's not a program doesn't mean it can't be taught. That's going to be on a shirt. Just because it's not a program doesn't mean it can't be taught. You see he needs help and support in this moment? Freaking teach him that. And be mindful of it the next time you reach a contingency like that. Oh, he needs help with learning how to blow his nose. Okay, whenever he sneezes, let's be prepared for that. Oh, she come in and this allergy season, perfect. Like, hello, you're teaching life skills across the way so that they're successful in their natural environment. And if they contact it, it's because it's expected to be in their natural environment. So be considerate and mindful of that and teach them to be independent, to manage those little incidental skills. Hello? See what I mean here? You're always shaping for the next step and shaping for the learner to be successful.